So you watched the video about lesson 8.1. Now I want to do a few questions that will be sample questions for the ones that you're going to be doing. Your assignment is to do 8.1, 1 to 29 odd, so I'm going to do several of the even ones so you have samples of how to do them. So let's go ahead and get started with these. I am doing a little bit different order because I'm starting with adding rather than subtracting. So here is number 4. Well, here's the directions. If you have these three functions, f of x, g of x, and h of x, write the function rule representing the result of each function operation. State any restrictions on the domain. So this last part, state any restrictions on the domain, usually has to do with having 0 in the denominator, or sometimes it has to do with having a negative under a square root or something like that, because we can't have those things. So let's look at number 4, f plus h of f of x. Well, this simply means you're going to add f of x plus h of x. That's it. So we're going to take f of x, which is 3x. I'm going to do f of x plus h of x. So f of x is 3x minus 4. And we want to add h of x, which is 2x squared minus x minus 3. And so we're just adding those. We add like terms. We're going to start with the 2x squared because that's the highest degree. And then we'll 3x minus x is 2x. And lastly, we have negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. And that's it. That's all you do. Next one, we're doing f of x. And we're going to subtract g of x. Well, f of x is what we had before. That's 3x minus 4. And we're going to subtract g of x. Well, with subtracting, you have to be careful. Make sure you put in the parentheses because the negative will get distributed when you're subtracting. So let's go ahead and distribute that. So we'll have 3x minus 4 minus x minus 1. Once again, we add like terms. So 3x minus x is 2x. Negative 4 and negative 1 is negative 5. And that's our answer for that one. So that's addition, subtraction. Let's do this multiplication one. So this is going to be f of x times h of x. So we're going to get to multiply this out here. So f of x, scroll down as much as we can, is 3x minus 4. And h of x is this trinomial. It's 2x squared minus x minus 3. And now we just need to multiply this out. So the 3x gets multiplied by each term in here. So that's going to give us 6x cubed minus 3x squared minus 9x. And then we multiply the negative 4 times each term. So we have negative 8x squared plus 4x plus 12. And then we look for like terms. There's just the 1 cubed, so 6x cubed. There's a 3x squared and an 8x squared. Actually, they're both negative, so that's a negative 11x squared. There's a negative 9x and a 4x, which gives us negative 5x plus 12. So there, that is multiplied out. And then division, we're going to have h of x, which is the 2x squared minus x minus 3, and that's going to be divided by g of x, which is x plus 1. So our restriction here is going to be x cannot equal negative 1 because negative 1 would make the denominator 0. Now in this case, what we need to do is we need to see if we can factor the numerator, because sometimes you can cancel. So we could, to get a 2x squared, we need a 2x and an x. And to get a negative 3, we need a positive and a negative. So we might have to change these, but let's check. So, and then we have a 3 and a 1. So this is, we'll make this a 3 and this a 1 to get negative 3. Let's check. This is going to be positive 3x. And then negative 2x, which gives us x. Well, we don't want x, we want negative x. So remember, if you get that, you just have to change the signs here. So this should be negative 3 and positive 1. And then that's over x plus 1. And now we see that the x plus 1's cancel, and our answer is 2x minus 3. But remember that we have our restriction on the domain that x cannot equal negative 1, because in the original that made the denominator equal 0, and you cannot divide by 0. So there is division. All right, moving on to this next set of questions. They're set up a little bit differently. It says evaluate each expression when f is this relation, which instead of having an equation like our first ones, we just have a list of ordered pairs. And g, we have a list of ordered pairs. So as you get to number 14, we remember composition means f of g of x. We put g of x into f. Well, in this case, they're actually just asking for g of 3. Well, g of 3 means we want to look at g and find 3. Well, here's a 3 right here. We want to find 3 as a domain value. And what is paired with that 3 is negative 2. So g of 3, this part right here, is negative 2. Because when you put 3 in for g, you get negative 2. And now we have f of negative 2. Now we just look over here into our f function. We find negative 2, which is right here at the beginning. What's paired with negative 2? Well, it's negative 1, so our answer is negative 1. So that's composition. That's when you put the one function into the other. Then here we have subtraction. So subtraction, addition, multiplication, and division would be similar in that you're just going to find f of 2 and g of 2. And in this case, you're going to subtract them. If it's addition, you would add them. If it's multiplication, you would multiply them. So I'm going to erase what I had here. So f of 2, we want to find f of 2. So we're looking at f. We're looking for 2 in a domain value. So there it is. So what's paired with 2 is 3. So f of 2 is 3 minus, and we're doing the same thing over here. We want to find f of 2. Here it is right here. So this is minus 0. So the answer is 3. So that's how you do those ones with the ordered pairs rather than the function. Moving on. These directions were a little bit longer. We have the 3 functions. So f of x, we'll use green. When we work with f of x, we'll use blue. When we work with g of x and red, we'll use h of x. But this says write the rule representing the result of each function operation, stating any restrictions. So that first part is really like the first group of examples that we did. Then part B says verify your result by evaluating the function when x is 3. So that's just going to be, we're going to plug in 3 into your result and the definition of the function operation. So just into the original question. So let's get started with this. We have h of x. So we have h of x, which h of x minus, oops, I didn't put my parentheses, minus f of x, which is 2x minus 1. Make sure you put the parentheses there. Actually, I was just writing the function to start with, so minus f of x. Now we can go ahead and put our functions in. So we're doing part A here. So this is x squared plus 3x minus 10. And we want to subtract f of x, which is 2x minus 1. And now we work that out. We have to distribute the negative. So this is x squared plus 3x minus 10 minus 2x plus 1, because we're distributing that negative. And we have x squared plus x minus 9. So that's h minus f of x. That is part A. We figured out what that function rule was. There's no restrictions. Now we want to do part B, where we're going to plug 3 into this. Right, we're plugging in 3. So should have put 3 here. And this is going to be 3 squared plus 3 minus 9. Well, that's going to be 9 plus 3 minus 9, and that is 3. The second part of B is that we want to do h of 3 minus f of 3. That's what it means when you're going to evaluate the function, the second part, with the definition of the function operation. So h of 3. h of 3 means we're putting 3 in for the h function. So we have 3 squared plus 3 times 3 minus 10. And we're going to subtract the f function. Putting 3 into the f function is 2 times 3 minus 1. And now we want to figure out what that whole thing is equal to. So this is 9 plus 9 minus 10 minus 6 minus 1. 6 minus 1 is 5. I think we can squeeze this in. 9 plus 9 is 18. 18 minus 10 is 8. Minus 5 is 3. So we got the same thing. And that's what it was trying to show us. All right, going on to the next one, we have f of x times h of x. We actually, I believe, already figured this out. Oh no, that was a different functions. So we have to do f of x, which is 2x minus 1. Multiply that by h of x, which is x squared plus 3x minus 10. We have to multiply those out. So 2x cubed plus 6x squared minus 20x. Then we multiply the negative 1 times each term. Negative x squared minus 3x plus 10. And then we add like terms. And there is part A. Now part B, we want to plug 3 into this function. So f times h of 3 means we put 3 into each of these. For sake of time, we could do this by hand, but for sake of time, let's go ahead and, I thought I had a calculator right here. Well, I guess we'll do it by writing it out. So this is going to be 3 cubed is 27. So we're looking at this one. 3 cubed is 27 times 2 is 54. 3 squared is 9 times 5 is 45. Negative 23 times 3 is negative 69 plus 10. So I'm going to take the positives. 54 plus 45 is 99. Plus 10 is 109. And then minus 69 is 40. And now what we want to do is we want to do f of 3 times h of 3. And that's going to be f of 3 is 2 times 3 minus 1. And we're going to multiply that by h of 3. So h of 3 is 3 squared plus 3 times 3 minus 10. And we're going to figure this out. This is 6 minus 1, which is 5. And this is 9 plus 9 is 18 minus 10 is 8, which is 40. All right, our last couple of questions here. We want to do composition, and this is just giving us a -5 or a 1 in here. So really, we don't have to. So I get the idea of these. Let me go back of 20 and 22 and the others in that section is to realize you can do these two ways. You can find the function rule first and then plug in the value, or you can just plug in the value and then do the operation. If you're just finding one value, like putting a 3 in there, or in this case a -5, the second way is probably easier, because for the first way we had to find the function rule first, then plug in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to think of this as f of h of -5, which means we want to put -5 into the h function, which will be f of, putting -5 in there, gives us -5 squared minus 4. Well, that's f of 25 minus 4 is 21. And now we just want f of 21, so we put 21 into the f function. And so that's going to be 5 times 21 plus 3. 5 times 21, that's 105. Plus 3 is 108. So that's how you do those. You think of what composition is. It's one function inside the other function. Then you find the one that's inside first, find whatever that answer is, and then plug that into your second. Now, number 30 is a special case. This would be called an iteration. It's when we do a function on itself. So remember, this still just follows the composition rules. So this is going to be h of h of 1, which means we want to find h of 1 first. So we put 1 in there. So this can be h of 1 squared minus 4, because we're putting a 1 into the h function. Well, 1 squared minus 4 is -3. So we want h of -3. These parentheses, I don't know why I put these here. They don't really need to be there. Same here. So h of -3, which just means we're going to put -3 into that function, that same function. and so that's going to be negative 3 squared minus 4, and we get 9 minus 4, which is 5.